Hey folks, it's Fernando doing another video for more survivalists. As you probably heard, Argentina defaulted yet again, second time in 13 years. Not good news in Argentina. If you haven't kept up with the news, basically what happened was this. Argentina had its debt restructured first in 2005, not so well. Then in 2010 it restructured it in a way that it was acceptable for 93% of the creditors. 93% of the people that held Argentine bonds accepted the terms, and they did so for a reason at that scale, because it was somewhat okay. The rates that Argentina was paying were really not that bad. Actually, we were pretty good, so that's why 93% of them agreed with it. Now, in spite of that, a small number did not go for it. Among them, NML Capital of Paul Singer, they said no, we're not interested in accepting those terms. We're not accepting the restructuring of the debt. We want to be paid the full amount. The full amount, how much was it? Well, the thing is this: Paul Singer buys $170 million in face value of Argentine debt. He actually pays 35 million, give or take, for it, because it had recently gone through an economic collapse. So it was considered like trash debt. It was considered that Argentina could not afford to pay those. So Paul Singer, $35 million, he pays those $35 million and he buys that debt. A couple of years later, he says, okay, now Argentina owes me not 35 million, not 170 million. Argentina owes me $1.5 billion. And in spite of all the attempts of trying to find a solution, Paul Singer doesn't seem to be interested in finding one. And you may be wondering, why would it be that the guy that buys debt of a country for $35 million is not interested in making an agreement? All right, yeah, you buy it for 35 million, it's worth 170, it's worth 400 million, 500 million, but 1.5 billion dollars, you know that the country is not going to be going for that. But at the same time, you wonder why that is. And why that is actually quite simple. Paul Singer bought insurance in case Argentina defaulted on its national debt. All right, it's called a credit default swap. Credit default swap, or CDS, is basically that. It's kind of shady because it's not well regulated, who buys it and such, and who's actually making the payments. But it's among the big financial players, the banks, and some of these large financial corporations that among themselves they trade with these CDS. Now, if you think of traditional terms, insurance is basically this. If I have, let's suppose I have a business, right? I have a bar. I buy insurance for my bar burns down, I collect on my insurance, all right? That's reasonable and understandable. Now, if I own a bar and I show up one day with a jerry can full of gasoline, torch my own bar, and then claim the insurance, chances are that if I get caught, I'll end up in jail for fraud, all right, and for arson. Now the thing is, if you do it with an entire country, not just a bar, and you do it for a few $1 billion, that seems to be perfectly legal. Again, this double standard of what people do on a personal level or on a normal people level is one thing. What Wall Street does on another level, that seems to be okay. And I find it curious that a lot of people think, well, this is a victory for capitalism, go Paul Singer because he bought that debt and he deserves to. You know, it's funny because it's a set of rules for normal guys like you and me, and it's another set of rules for these guys. This is not really that different from what happened with the bailouts in the United States. You have these huge financial institutions and the bankers making themselves billionaires by creating debt, and when it comes down to fixing the problem, or when this debt bubble falls apart, who pays for that? Well, you do. So it's extremely rich billionaires that are clearly capitalists when it comes to earnings. They're capitalists when it comes to making the money, but they're not so capitalist when it comes to, okay, the business failed, what do we do now? And they looked at the government and say, okay, now you have to bail me out. So they're capitalists for making the money and putting it in their bank accounts. They're very socialist, even communist, when it comes to the government paying and bailing them out. In a real capitalist system, I consider myself a capitalist. And in my version of capitalism, if I have money, I start a business, and my business fails, I'm losing my business and no one is bailing me out. I'm not making money out of my failure. That's the idea of capitalism. But again, double standard, different thing. Basically, what does this mean for Argentina? What's going to be happening? Surprisingly, not that much. And the thing is this, Argentina already collapsed. Argentina is already a high-risk investment country. Argentina already is a country that has seen little or no foreign investment in the last few years. So it's not as if there's going to be even less investment. There's practically none already. It's not as if more capital is going to be fleeing the country. If no one left the country already with the mess that the country is, they're not going to be leaving now. And basically everything that could leave already left Argentina. Everything that was not, tied somehow to the country already left. Actually, it was worse, in my opinion, the devaluation of January, when we saw the big devaluation at the beginning of the year in January. That had a big impact in terms of inflation, made things very much worse for people, created a lot more poverty. This is not going to be having that much of an impact. The reason for that is the country is already a mess, all right? It's like throwing a bomb. It's like bombing a place that has already been shelled to pieces. So it's, if you bomb a place that has already been leveled, you're not going to be doing more damage over the wreckage that has already been made. So basically, that's that, guys. It's more of the same thing. More poverty in general. More hardships for people. Argentina is already a country of people used to that sort of thing. It's stuff that I have already covered to a great extent in my first book, the Modern Survival Manual, Surviving the Economic Collapse. The link is going to be there along with my second book, Bugging Out and Relocating, which is what you actually do when you see this coming for some time, Basically, I look at it that way. When you have no other choice but to live through the mess that a country becomes after an economic collapse, you do what I explained in my first book, bugging in, staying put, and trying to make it work with whatever it is that you have, dealing with the financial problems, dealing with the inflation, dealing with the crime that comes along with all that stuff. But you realize, that at the end of the day, the only solution you have when everything has been destroyed to such an extent is just leaving. I was reading a post by someone asking about wanting to be prepared for a worst case situation where everything has fully collapsed, and it wants to be ready with a few of their neighbors and such. You don't get ready with a few of your neighbors or a few of your pals when a country collapses completely. You just get the hell out of there. That's really the only solution. But yeah, that's basically it, guys. It's not that much of a change in the situation because of the new default. It's basically more of the same. Argentina is going to be having a chance to change, not in the next year or in the following one. It's going to be taking generations to see any honest, real improvement. Folks, that's all for now. Remember to subscribe, check the books that are linked below if you're interested in that sort of thing, and learning more about how to be ready for this kind of mess that may come to your country or not. We just don't know, but If you want to be ready, that's where you'll find that information. Folks, take care, have a great day, see you in our next video.